I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we will be discussing our top reads of 2024 so far.
Oh my gosh, we did that. We didn't even plan that, people.
We did that in the same inflection and everything. Look at that.
It's almost like we hang out all the time.
I know, right?
This week's cocktail is named Memento Mori, and it tastes like a root beer float. And like I say every week, if you want to find out more about it, you have to listen to Thursday's episode or go to ournerdiestthing.com for the recipe. But it's really, really good. And my daughter even looked at us before she came in here, and she's like, what are you guys going to need to eat later? She's just assuming we're going to get drunk.
Yeah.
It does taste like a root beer float.
It does.
Yeah. And Mindy was telling me that she used zero sugar root beer, but I thought she was saying that she didn't, like she used zero root beer.
Well,
and I was like,
I did say I used zero root beer.
I was like, how did you do that? How'd you make it taste like root beer without any root beer? But then
I love that root beer. What is it called? Not your dad's root beer or something?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Not your father's root beer.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
I think I need to get some of that. But actually, this tastes better.
I haven't gotten that in a long time.
Thank you so much, Deb, for telling us about the cocktail, sort of. But you have to listen to Thursday for all of the details. And thank you, Mindy, for the cocktail.
How many times are you going to say cocktail?
Cocktail. Let's get into nerdy news. Onyx Storm, book 3 in the Empyrean series, now has a cover. So go check that out. You can pre-order the special edition with the cool sprayed edges.
And her like, watch the Today Show tomorrow.
You know what's so really funny though is that people didn't realize that it was a countdown until yesterday, and people thought that she was giving like there's information in these chapters that she was putting as her profile pictures, and so people were trying to read through all the chapters and be like, I think it's this sentence here, and now it's like, no, it's just a new cover. But I went ahead and pre-ordered mine, so go check that out, everybody.
I had already pre-ordered it like a long time ago, but
I waited to see what it was going to look like, I guess.
I will say that it says something on it because I did zoom in where it's like the darkness within or something, which I'm like, no, have you read it?
No.
Okay, I can't tell you why that's important.
You need to read Iron Storm.
I'm like,
Iron Flame. Yeah, it doesn't come out till January, but the cover has been released.
I know, I've got time.
But, Deb, I know you have nerdy news.
Today, Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell comes out, and this book is all about second chances when two best friends reunite at a wedding after not speaking in 14 years, and neither of them are where they thought they'd be in life, but find that what they need is each other. And honestly, this book has, like, a lot of feelings. Like, a lot of feelings.
All of her books do.
Yeah, it's not like her other books, though.
Oh, really?
It's not as YA. Like she's divorced with 2 kids. Like they were like best friends in high school and like lost their virginity to each other. And
so it's probably more like Landline.
Definitely. Yeah. And it deals with divorce and all that stuff. It's just a little bit more.
It's more grown up.
Yeah, it's more grown up. I'm listening to the arc right now, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. So
good.
It's been good. But I like listened to another book, which I'll tell you about in a minute, that also had a lot of feelings. And I really think I just need a rom-com.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm like just not in the mental space to like have a lot of feelings. I just want to like laugh and watch people fall down or fall in love, one or the other.
I totally relate to that.
But I am really, really enjoying it. It's pure Rainbow Rowell, well written always. So check it out. Comes out today.
Awesome.
I also have one piece of nerdy news, and this one is a book by Sarah Pekkanen, and this is just a book that I'm really eager to read. I really know very little about it. It's called House of Glass, and it comes out on August 6th, but if you're a Book of the Month member, it's actually available with the July book box.
Damn, I already ordered my box.
I know, I already ordered mine too, and then I realized that I kind of wanted this one. So
I said box. Sorry, I started laughing.
This one's about a child advocate worker, and she has to work with a young girl who witnessed her nanny's possible murder.
Ooh.
And this is all during her parents' bitter divorce. But the girl now refuses to speak. And the whole house is actually, there is no glass in the house. It's the whole like take on people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones or whatever, but they have all their windows are plastic. So I get the impression that there's something up with this kid, like she's a psycho or something. I don't know.
can't have anything sharp.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Or maybe it was an
interesting.
Annie. I don't know. It just seemed very, very intriguing to me. So
It's a
I'm
mystery.
excited to pick that one up.
Well, we should be able to get it in next month's Book of the Month box. You
It'll
can get
definitely
old
be an
ones.
add-on for me.
Yeah, you can add it
Nice.
on and read it and then tell me if I should add it on.
Okay. Or you could just read mine.
You be the guinea pig. Let us know how it is. Maybe it'll be a future Convince Me to read.
It might be.
Well, speaking of reading, guys, let's get into the nerdy and dirty. What you reading?
Well, I want to know what you're reading because I recommended a book to you yesterday, and I need to know if you dropped everything to read it.
I didn't because I'm in the
Okay.
middle of a series, but this might be up your alley if you're looking for something like funny and kind of lighthearted.
Yeah.
So I started reading the series I mentioned last week, the Riley Thorne series by Lucy Score, which I haven't read any of her other books, but this seems like it's very different from, what is it, The Pieces We Leave Behind or something like that. Whatever was popular on Book Talk or whatever last year. So the first book in the Riley Thorne series is called The Dead Guy Next Door. And it's definitely rom-com. It's also like, it's not really true crime because it's very, very silly. And it's not silly. It's not like a satire and it's not really a farce. It's just really goofy. Like this lady, bless her heart, she's down on her luck. She's divorced. Her ex-husband is the worst. And she ended up having to pay him like alimony, although he cheated on her. Like it's this whole thing. And so the only place that she can find to live is this extra room in basically like a retirement home. And so she lives with a bunch of old people and they are hilarious. And one of the neighbors dies and she is a psychic, starts to work with this private investigator who's been hired to try to figure out what's going on. And so there's lots of hijinks. A couple of particular neighbors, like their thing is that they fart all the time. It's
They're old.
very goofy and like they're old and they can't hear.
Oh
and
my gosh.
It's,
that sounds
That does
it's
sound
very
fun.
fun. It's very goofy. I've been enjoying it.
I'm finding right now in literature that like all these quote unquote campy books are coming out, but they're not campy enough. Like
yeah.
I listened to Bless Your Heart, which is that one set in the South with like the vampires, but
Yeah.
like you've got this kooky old grandma and like she wasn't like, she should have been like cussing at people or, you know, like on, do you remember the Stephanie Plum books by Janet Ivanovich?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember her grandma, how she would like go and like look in the casket to see if the guys had like erections after they died and stuff?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
was looking for. So like
Yeah.
it sounds like this is what I want.
That's
I want
probably
something-
more this is probably what you want.
I want
more.
it
Yeah.
like so campy. You're like, oh my gosh, these people are ridiculous.
The first book, I kind of felt like that. Like maybe this is a little bit too silly for me,
Yeah.
but now I'm almost done with book 3.
Are they on
I'm
KU
into
all
it.
in
or
now?
how are
They
you?
are, yeah. They're all on KU. And the fourth one, I haven't checked to see if the fourth one is on KU, but I'm assuming it is. It's the one that like just came out. So it's very entertaining. I really
Fun.
enjoy it a lot. So.
Okay, I can't wait to read it.
What are you guys reading?
What are you reading, Deb?
Well, I actually finished a lot of books in the last week. Right now, I'm currently reading The Vicious King. It's an arc from Gina Maxwell, and this is the finale in her trilogy about the 3 dark fae brothers who like run and display debauchery in Las Vegas. They have built and own Las Vegas. They're
Oh, cool.
dark fae that have been exiled, and there's a lot of really wonderful steam in it. So this is the third brother. He's like the spare. And and there's a lot of sexy times, and the author is really into some very light BDSM, but it's very educational. I'm like, I'm wondering about this.
Like you could reenact the scene.
Maybe, but
kind
like
of thing?
she doesn't make it feel. I think sometimes when BDSM is written, it's like, oh, I'm like, then I'm gonna like fuck her, and like these guys are just like really gentle, and it's all about trust, and like that's
Right.
for me, that's a huge turn on, is to trust someone so much that they could like tie you up in rope and like
Right.
still be very gentle with you, and she really highlights like the aftercare of that type of sex because
Yeah.
that's very, very important. And so I don't know, I really enjoyed everything by her, and she's going to be on the podcast soon. I'm very excited. She's
Excited.
great. But I did finish Beneath the Cursed Stars, Dance with the Shadow Prince, and The Wedding People, and they're all 5-star reads for me. So
Nice.
Beneath the Cursed Stars and Dance with the Shadow Prince are fantasy, and then The Wedding People is contemporary fiction with a dash of romance. I will say Wedding People, when we post the review, it'll be up by the time this episode comes out. There are some serious like trigger warnings in this book. Her husband starts cheating on her with her like professor counterpart and leaves her during the pandemic, and she goes to this hotel that she always wanted to go on vacation with him with the intention of killing herself.
Oh gosh.
and like figures out that she is the only person at the resort that's not in this wedding party.
Oh.
And meets the bride very early on, and it's all about like her kind of like affirming herself and finding herself. So it's really hard. It's got like suicidal ideation, divorce, you know, kind of like all these things. And it was really hard to listen to, but there were a couple laugh out loud moments because like she's just doing shit because it like feels good because she hasn't felt good in so long. Right. And so highly recommend, but you probably need to be in a really good mental space
Well,
to read it.
Definitely have to be in the right headspace for that one.
Yeah. But it's crazy that I had 3 5-star reads in a week though.
Yeah.
It was a good reading week.
That is.
Yeah. Cause June kind of sucked for me.
That was me like last week, I think.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what I'm reading now is not doing much for me, and you all are going to be shocked to find out that it's Manacled.
I'm so upset. I'm so fucking upset by this.
I'm trying, guys. I really,
How far
really
into it are you?
I'm almost a third of the way through now. I'm to the flashback section.
Okay, you haven't gotten into the deep of it.
I
but
know,
if you're here's the
I
thing
know.
though, DNF it if you don't like it.
I'm about to. I don't
Not
know.
every
We'll
book
see.
is for everybody. Yeah.
It's like I trust you guys though, so it's like maybe it's just maybe
For now.
Well, no, but I'm thinking maybe I'm not in the right
Maybe-
headspace
maybe
because what
get-
I've been reading is fun light rom-coms,
Right,
and I've
this
been
is-
really enjoying them, and this is not
Manacled
that
is
for
No,
sure.
it's very
Like,
But I kind of had prepared myself for it. I don't know.
maybe try to get halfway through.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, I mean, I always try to give it a good 50%.
There's a lot you don't realize about Draco yet. That's very, very important.
I kind of see where it's going.
Oh, you
though.
can. You do see where it's going, but there are just some things you don't know
I guess
yet.
I think part of it, honestly, for me, is that I'm a little bored with the writing. Not really the writing. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts. Let's just put it that way. And I'm gonna try to get through it and finish, and have that discussion another time. Maybe we need to do a podcast.
have-
I was
episode
just
on
about to
this.
say maybe we should do a bonus episode.
We have
for
an
Manacled
open
when we
mic
finish.
right now. But yeah, maybe we'll do a bonus.
But I
Manacled
want to
episode.
get more into it and make a better, a better opinion of it when I've read more. I definitely feel like I haven't read enough, but I think that's part of the problem too. I feel like I've read so much. It's taken me so long to get
It's
to
a
where
long
I've
book.
gotten, and nothing's really happened. And I'm bored, and it's like a lot of the same shit over and over again. I'm like, okay, he fucked her again. Like, I don't know. I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's more to come with that too.
I know.
Just trust the process.
I'm trying. I am.
And
I'm really trying,
listeners-
guys. I'm not giving up too soon. Maybe it's just not for me, and
It may not be.
It makes me feel broken though because
I
everybody
was
loves it.
gonna
I've
say-
yet to hear anybody say they didn't like it.
I'm gonna say you might be dead inside.
Maybe I am.
Well, but I really liked it, but I also didn't like weep when I was reading it, like everybody
I
else
cried
seemed
the whole
to.
fucking time.
And see, I felt like that too. Like, I mean, everybody else I think cried for like a week when they read this, and I didn't. But
It was one of those books where like I would read it at bedtime and realize it was 3 a.m. and I was like sobbing next to my husband, and I'm like trying not to wake him up.
Oh, and I'm like at 3 a.m. realizing that I fell asleep at midnight, and the book is on my chest. So
Here's what's so funny though, because all three of us really are so different in personality. It's so interesting to me that me, out of all three of us, was the one that was sobbing while they were reading it.
normally
right?
it's me.
Right, yeah. Normally Whitney has tissue paper stuck to her face.
stuck to
from
my
crying
face.
so hard.
well, what's interesting to me is that we even agree on anything. Like there's any books that we all three like.
Right.
That's true. That's the more amazing thing.
Right. Yeah. But it also keeps things interesting for the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should do a bonus episode.
Plus,
on
I love you
Manacled.
girls.
But if we do a bonus episode, you have to actually read the whole thing.
I would. Well, yes. Well, and if we do a bonus episode and I end up not liking it, you all can't be mean to me.
No, that just makes it a
I
better
did
episode.
just tell her
honestly.
she's dead inside. I'm
She
sorry.
did.
I won't say anything else like
That's
that.
not mean.
That's not mean at all. You're right.
Well, let's talk about what we're watching.
Oh my gosh, you guys. On the 4th of July, I was really disappointed because it was stormy all
Oh, it was
day.
such
It
an
was
ugly
awful.
day.
And everyone that listens, and you all know I'm a pool person, right? And so we had plans to go to the pool for like 8 hours on the 4th of July, and obviously that did not happen. So Sadie, my daughter, and I, we watched The Sweetest Thing, which is early 2000s rom-com with Cameron Diaz
So
and
funny.
Christina Applegate and Selma Blair. It's so fucking funny. And then we watched The Hating Game, which has Lucy Hale in it, which that book I did not love as much because he really, really bullies her in the book, but
Yeah.
in the movie, it's just kind of like a
Toned down.
workplace romance type of thing. The movie's great, but we like watched little rom-coms and painted our nails and we sat on the couch in pajamas, and it was really kind of fun. And then later, my husband's parents came over and we cooked and stuff. But it wasn't the 4th of July I wanted, but it was the 4th of July that I think I needed.
Yeah.
It was kind of
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
And if you've not seen either of those movies, you should go watch them. They're great.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Hating Game. I have seen Sweetest Thing, but it's been a while.
I was just thinking,
Sweetest Thing is so funny.
I love that
Long
movie.
time.
If you think glory holes and
It's kind
messed
of
up
like
weddings-
bridesmaid style humor.
It is.
It
Absolutely.
It was
Absolutely.
girl raunch-com before there was girl
Yes.
raunch-com.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of the first ones.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Really.
It's a trailblazer.
The world wasn't ready.
Sadie was not ready for the things they were wearing. And I was like, yeah, early 2000s fashion was something else.
That's how I felt watching Buffy. the late 90s.
Like the Delia's catalog vomited.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I will say, someone posted the other day, they were posting pictures of the Delia's catalog, and they're like, change nothing, send this out, and we will all buy it. I'm like, the striped polos and the little jean skirts, and I'm like, yes, I will buy all
They
of
were
those
cute
things.
and timeless.
They were. I don't know about timeless, but they've come back around.
Timeless for us.
Right.
Mindy, what are you watching?
Well, I really wasn't watching a whole lot. I'm still watching The Mole, but I'm just getting through some of those episodes because it takes longer since my husband's watching with me. But this weekend, we went on a little craft retreat, Deborah and I did, and we ended up putting on old Supernatural episodes, and it just
Nice.
made me remember how much I loved that show. It had been a while since I'd even watched
We
really
watched
any
the
rerun.
best funny ones.
Oh,
so all the meta
We started
ones.
with The French Mistake, and then, but we
Such a
also
good
watched
one.
all the ones where people die, so that was not good either.
Like
Sorry.
people that you like, characters,
Bobby and-
beloved
yeah.
character
Yes.
deaths.
You know, I didn't make him die, right? I just turned on the episode.
No, that was
She did it.
no, but those were great episodes.
They
though.
are really
I mean,
good
it was
episodes,
just yeah, it was good times.
Fun times.
And then we had someone who wasn't at the craft retreat, but walked in to see a friend, and she goes, "Oh my God, Supernatural!" And we're like, "Yeah, you're
The
right."
best part was I don't even know if anybody else saw it but me, but it was just coming on. So there was the teaser, and then you get the first sound of when it's going to show the yeah, and it literally a second after it started, she had been talking to someone, and then she whipped her head around. It was so funny. She was like, "That's Supernatural."
it was like Pavlov's bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It was pretty
100%.
funny.
I know what that is.
We need to be friends with her.
We do.
I don't remember her name, but we need to be friends with her.
Caroline, shout out to Caroline.
She was only there for
Caroline.
5 minutes in my
Carolyn. It might have been Carolyn. I don't know.
Carolyn.
I talked to her about
Carol?
hockey though. So
Well, I finished Buffy season 1, thoroughly enjoyed it. Had to take a break because Robbie wasn't on a work trip. And
Can you
he's not
remind
interested.
me how season 1 ends?
The master, and she defeats the master, but she had to die for a second first. But then Xander saves her.
Yeah.
And that made me laugh a little bit because Xander was like, CPR. And Angel was like, you have to do it. I have no breath. And I was like, okay. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. But
I don't know how you can have no breath but an erection.
but also like be
right.
able to talk. Like you kind of have to have air for
Doesn't
that.
breath
But you know,
have
it's
to go
fine.
through your vocal cords?
Yep, it sure does.
All right, Joss Whedon, get it together.
But Robbie and I went to Asheville for our anniversary weekend this past weekend, and we watched a couple of different rom-coms on Netflix, one of which I highly recommend, the other of which I only medium recommend. So one was Anyone But You. Did you guys watch that? It came out like last summer, I
is
think.
that the one with Glenn Powell
Yes,
and
Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, that's the
Molly
one.
keeps telling me to watch that one.
It was so
I need to see
good.
that
I
one.
don't love Sydney Sweeney as an actress.
I don't either, but I really liked this movie. It was
think-
very cute.
I think my daughter might have been watching it.
I really liked it a lot. I did not know that it's based on Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing.
They're like at
yeah.
a wedding or something, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really funny. It was very well done. And it was one of those good Shakespeare adaptations. Like She's the Man is hilarious
Yeah.
to me. And 10 Things I Hate About You is always a classic. Nothing is as good as 10 Things I Hate About You, but it was really good. I very much enjoyed it. I don't love Sydney Sweeney, but I really liked this movie a lot. I do like Glenn Powell though, but he's younger than me. I learned that.
See, I feel like he looks older than he is.
I was looking up the ages of everybody because Sydney Sweeney, I know she's not a teenager, but she's on Euphoria. She plays a high school student, and in this movie, she was not playing a high school student. I'm like, who are all these people? And Glenn Powell is like 2 or 3 years younger than me.
What?
Yes.
I thought he was older than me.
No,
Oh,
he's
wow.
younger. He is like it's either 2 or 3 years exactly from Robbie because they were born on the same day.
I
Just different
wonder
years.
if it's because they're always putting him as like this
The
macho
older,
guy.
I guess, but I was just, that really hurt my feelings.
No, I was going to say, we actually do want some actors and actresses that we think are hot to be older than us at this point.
I know. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, Robbie and I were both like, oh. So, wah, wah. The other movie that we watched, it was okay, but it wasn't as good as it could be. A Family Affair with Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron.
Oh, I don't want to watch that because
seeing
it looks annoying.
It kind of was. It was fine. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad or anything like that. It was just kind of weird. And I hesitate to even say this because it's talking about people's appearances, but it was weird and difficult at times to watch actors that didn't look like themselves anymore. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there were shots and frames that were kind of like, is she okay? Is he all right? You know, like it was just kind of tough. And
the whole Hollywood keep
keep yourself looking young, or keep yourself looking like macho and manly or whatever.
Whereas honestly, I mean, getting older sometimes can be very, very sexy. I mean, look at Paul Newman and, you know.
Yeah.
I think having that graceful aging is much more beautiful.
I will say Joey King is in it. She was hilarious. There were a couple of laugh out loud moments.
Is she the daughter?
She's the daughter, yeah. And the main reason that I medium recommend it is because I don't know that the movie knows whose story it actually is. Like, is it a story about the daughter and her relationship with her mom? Is it a story about the mom and this like new chance at love? Like, I don't think they knew who the movie was about. You know what I mean? But it was all right. It was fine. I don't agree with the quote unquote critics that are like, Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron are effortlessly sexy together. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that. Kathy Bates was in it too, though. She was pretty funny.
Is she effortlessly sexy?
She's always sexy, no matter what she does. But I mean, it's one of those movies that's like, I mean, okay, if it's on, watch it. But you have to like go. It's not going to just be on TV because it's on. It's a Netflix movie. You know what I mean?
You have to purposely.
You have to purposefully seek it out. So.
Oh my gosh! You know what I forgot to tell you is I finally went and saw The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. Yeah. I've been wanting to see it forever, and it is a movie that needs to be seen in the theaters.
Yeah,
but it was also laugh out loud funny.
Was it? It looked like it would be
so good. We will have to watch it whenever it's like out.
Yeah.
But I laughed the entire time, and I went with one of our other friends, Angela. Shout out to Angela. And
Angela.
My son, who's 12, and all three of us loved it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was
like
really
Ryan
great.
Gosling a lot.
He is really establishing himself as a comedic actor.
He is.
Because he's done such serious roles up until recently. And I think he's really found his calling as a comedic actor.
He did a lot of like serious indie, critically acclaimed, and a lot of you know, The Notebook.
Yeah.
He's always going to be The
Notebook. But even that, he was a
people.
serious character.
Right, well, that's true. But yeah, he is really funny.
Yeah, he's hysterical.
It must be all that the new Mickey Mouse Club training.
That's what it was.
From days of yore.
Do you think in front of the mirror every time he goes on, he's like, M-I-C.
I hope he does.
M-O-U-S-E.
Oh, I hope he does. Well, I want to hear from you guys what you're listening to, because I'm not listening to anything.
Well, I already told you I'm listening to Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell right now.
Well, maybe
for it.
I'm just
all up to you.
I'm just listening to some more Jukebox the Ghost, which is something I listen to all the time anyways, but I'm really like focused on it because I'm going to go see them in October, and my husband's coming with me, and he kind of like fringe likes them.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been like playing more of it so he can hear more of the songs, and he's really starting to get into it. So I'm really excited about that.
He likes them because he's with you when you listen.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Shout out to Darren.
I know.
Well, what about what you guys are loving in general?
My birthday's next week.
Yes.
You guys know we do birthdays really big. I was going to say,
Deb's house, they do birthdays right.
Well, and I have been meeting weekly with my husband almost as like my business coach for my design company, and I schedule out my whole week and we talk about like priorities and things like that. But I was like, okay, what days am I unavailable?
Block my calendar out.
And I did.
Sir.
I had to block stuff out. And then after my birthday next week, we head to Nashville, and I'm home for like 12 hours, and then I'm going to Asheville with
Asheville,
and I'm going to Asheville with some reading friends actually from book club. So there's a lot going on in the next 2 weeks. I'm excited, but like I'm not getting tons done in my studio because I'm not here, which I need to get some shit done.
Oops.
Oh no. Mindy, what are you loving?
I am loving crafting again. I mentioned that we went to a craft retreat, which we found this new place. We've been going to this awful place. And I think I probably hated it more than anybody else. But I was just over it, and we were paying extra money for a shithole. So I found this new place, and it was the first time we'd been there. So it was always like we were nervous. We're like, oh,
is
God,
it going to be worse? Or yeah.
Yeah. So the worst part about it is that the owner is just super overly hospitable. So
like Monica Geller hospitable.
Yeah. So like she's super nice, but like there's all these great little touches. It was a great weekend, and I got a lot of cross stitching done, and it just really just crafting with friends is always fun.
Yeah.
And we had a new friend come and craft, and she was really great.
I loved
She
her.
and I went through 5 bottles of wine, but it was over 3 days.
Over the whole weekend.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't like we drank that much in a night or anything. But
I would like to see those crafts if you drank 5 bottles in one night.
I was really happy because the people who used to drink at craft weekend no longer come. So I was happy to have someone who would have a glass of wine with me. Mindy has one sometimes.
I do. I didn't bring anything to drink, and I don't drink wine really.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially not when I'm crafting, because then I just can't see straight. But next time I'll bring like something to make a rum cocktail or something.
We need to make amaretto sours with a kiss is what we need.
I'd do that. Yeah.
Well, I'm loving the weekend I had in Asheville. Although I told you guys before we started recording, by lunchtime today, I got back last night, and by lunchtime today, I'm like, hush, children.
I will
enough.
have to say happy 15 years to you and your husband.
I know.
Thank you so much.
It's very exciting.
We got a free dessert at a restaurant and champagne in our hotel room, which was only like kind of okay. Robbie was like, I don't think I can drink this. And I was like, that's fine. Let's go get ice cream instead. So it was just fun. It was relaxing. We saw a 6-foot snake on the golf course,
What the fuck?
which gave me nightmares.
Yeah, no thanks.
And then we came home and I realized that I really only have a few weeks left of trying to entertain my children, my feral children, because we go on vacation in a few weeks, and then when we come back, school starts. So
See, that
I know
makes
that's
me really sad.
Yeah, that's
Me
not
too.
exciting for you guys, but
Yeah.
it's very exciting for Whitney. That's what I'm living
I'm just
right
so
now.
not ready to get back into the grind of like getting my kids places.
Yeah,
Right? Like
that's
I just,
true.
I'm not looking forward to that.
For me, I'm the only one left that has to go back to school. Like my kids don't go back the same time as I do. So,
Right.
and they're going to college, so it's not the same.
Right.
So yeah, I'm like, and then, I said, oh God, it's 4 weeks and I have to go back to work. And Dawson, my youngest, was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I have to go back to work. And he goes, do I? And I was like, no, you start a little later than me. He's like, oh, haha.
You're like, Betty, you know where you're going, right?
that like panic.
Like, you might want to check that.
Anxiety moment of like, wait a second, what? Do I have to do that too? That's so funny. Our nerdiest topic today is our favorite reads so far. We are a little more than halfway through the year of 2024. So we're going to be sharing our favorite books from each month based on what we read. And all of the books that we are sharing are all 5-star reviews that we loved. And some of them we just loved a little bit more than others. So maybe our favorites should be like 5.5 stars.
Maybe.
If only we could give more than 5. So let's just go through, starting with January. What were your 5-star reads, and what were your faves?
For January, for me, it was Manacled by Sin Lin Yu, which, Mindy really loves. And it was the first book I read of the year and really set the tone, made it difficult for other books to stand up to that level.
Hashtag not my 5-star read.
Okay, well, what was yours, Mindy?
Well, I had a few actually in January. I had Pinky Promise by Rebecca Rennick. I think I talked about it on the podcast. It's just a really fun book, and the words were in pink ink actually, which is kind of fun. And
Was that hard to read?
No, it wasn't. But it had to be well lit. So yeah, make sure you're not trying to it wasn't on the Kindle, so I had really good direct light. But it was fun. I liked reading that. And then I read another one called The Light Through the Leaves by Glendy Vandera. It was not something I would typically read, but I really liked it. And then my top read was Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver.
That was also one of my top January. I only had 2 5-star reads in January this year. One was Butcher and Blackbird, and one was House of Flame and Shadow. So we've been sharing a lot of our thoughts of House of Flame and Shadow on our
You
read
gave
along
it
episodes.
5 stars? I thought you gave it 4.
I ended up giving it 5. I thought about giving it 4, but I ended up giving it 5.
I gave it 4 because we were hyped up for a year and a half on the crossover multiverse.
The
and
ACOTAR, yeah.
then they were just in the cave together for 300 pages. So I was a little disappointed.
Walking.
Yes, indeed. I'm walking. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. But yeah, those are my favorite January reads. What about February?
You're like, I don't know how to get us there. Well, I read my favorite read for all of February was Throne of Broken Gods. It's the second book in the God and Monster series by Amber V. Nicole, which is, you've seen it as Book of Azrael. That's the first book in the series.
Yeah.
And she just writes grief really, really well. I've never had an author explain it the way that she does. So that was my favorite one. And then I also had reread Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. It was my 9th reread. So that was 5 stars.
I love that book.
And then also Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. It was, which is the sequel to Divine Rivals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I haven't read yet, which it's on my TBR.
I think it's one of those that should be listened to. Because I do wonder if you read it, if it would feel kind of long.
Okay. See, I feel like when I listen to them, they feel longer.
I feel like that too, but I think it's because I have to listen in such a specific scenario to be able to get what's going on.
Too, yeah.
That it does take me longer, you know?
Sure.
But,
yep.
Mindy, what were your February 5-star reads?
February, I had 2 5-star reads. One was Begin Again by Helly Acton. It was an arc that I read. And then my favorite of that month, of course, has to be If You Hate Me by Helena Hunting.
Yes.
She's almost always a 5-star read for me.
I love that. It's nice to have those, what do we call them? Like auto-buy authors?
One-click buy or whatever.
That you know, like, I'm going to like this book. Yeah. Well, February for me apparently was the month of Tessa Bailey. I had multiple 5-star reads, and they're all Tessa Bailey rom-coms. I had Fangirl Down, Unfortunately Yours, It Happened One Summer, Hook, Line, and Sinker, and my favorite of all of those continues to be Fangirl Down. Maybe the Au Pair Affair will take Fangirl Down out of its top Tessa Bailey spot.
I realized you haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. It's not out yet.
We didn't. We didn't get that arc.
You need to request it on NetGalley.
Well,
she has a Christmas one that you need to go on NetGalley and request.
Ooh.
I've not gotten approved for it yet, but I typically don't until a little bit closer.
Yeah. I'll have to go look it up.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but it looks cute. Maybe she can. Her sexually deviant character can just like edging.
Oh man, what a reveal that was. Like, what's it going to be? Like, oh, well, that's not a big deal.
Y'all right there, buddy.
Man. What about March? What were your 5-star reads?
This was a book I talked about on the podcast, but Lore of the Wilds by Annalee Sprana. It's a book about Faye, and it was a debut novel. Her next book actually finally got put on Goodreads to come out next year. I was really worried there wasn't going to be a second one. So that was my top 5-star read for March. But then I also read Destroy the Day by Bridget Kemmerer, even though it had come out in January. And that whole series is just so good. Everything she writes for me, I've only given one of her books ever 4 stars. The rest have been 5 stars. So I kind of want to go read that series again. I love her so much. But she's working on an adult fantasy novel.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm very, very excited about. I'd love to see a little steam come out of her.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Go listen to that interview that we did with her, by the way, if you haven't, because she's lovely.
Yeah, she's very really smart and funny and just great all around.
Mindy, what was your March?
I only had 2 5-star reads in March, too. I'm stingy with my 5 stars, though. That is for sure. So in March, I read Our Immortal Hearts by Lara Buckheit, and just love her in general. And I really enjoyed it. It was separate from the other series that we read by her, and just was very enjoyable. And then my favorite one that month, though, was Icebound by Meredith Trapp. She's a new, I don't know if that was her debut, but I know it was her debut hockey romance. So it's a hockey romance, obviously.
Wait, you liked a hockey romance?
What? So, and it was just, reading as much hockey romance as I do, it's difficult to find somebody who just kind of goes that extra step above. Yeah. And I feel like she did. She really made a different story for me and really hooked me.
Her own unique twist.
Yeah.
Well, I only had one 5-star read in March, and it was Elle Mitchell's The Pieces We Try to Forget, that I've talked about, I feel like, a lot. If you are a regular listener of the podcast, this is the book that made me cry to the point that I had toilet paper stuck to my face, as we alluded to earlier in this episode. It is a prequel to another novel, The Pieces We Leave Behind. You definitely should read The Pieces We Leave Behind before you read The Pieces We Try to Forget. And you know the ending if you've read the other book before you read this one. You know how it's going to end, but it's still It gets you in the feels every single time,
Mitchell,
just like Elle
she can
likes
make
to
you
do.
cry like nobody else.
She does, and I think she likes it.
I think she does too.
I think she's maybe a little bit of a sadist, but we'll see.
We love her for it.
Yeah. What about April?
My favorite read for April was Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. It doesn't come out until October still, which I'm like so bummed about, but it was such an amazing read. And then I had a really good April reading month. I listened to Funny Story by Emily Henry. That was a 5-star read for me. And then one that was like so close to being 5 stars, maybe it was like 4.25, was Sophie Lark's Stolen Vows. That book is just so freaking funny. And so April was it was spring break. There was a lot of fun reading time. And my final one is Dante by Sadie Kincaid. I bought that at a book convention after some other readers told me they really liked it, and it's a mafia romance.
Ooh.
It's pretty great.
They can be wonderful.
They can.
What about you, Mindy?
So mine is one. Well, I had two. One I've talked about in depth, I believe. I feel like I'm this is my Elle Mitchell. A Guy Walks Into My Bar by Lauren Blakely, and I did actually listen to this one, and it was just fantastic. It was such a great story, and a great, just all around the listening experience was sexy. But my favorite for April was Heartless Hunter by Christian Ciccarelli, and it also goes by The Crimson Moth if you are in the UK.
I don't know why it's called. I mean, I guess because it's in the UK, but it's so confusing.
It is. Yeah. It is. It was just a really, really good fantasy read for me with witches and witch hunters and forbidden love and all that good stuff. Yep. I'm really looking forward to the second one.
I like a forbidden love trope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, March was the month of Elle Mitchell for me. April was the month of Elle Kennedy and the hockey romance. I had several, just like the month of Tessa Bailey. All of my 5-star reads for the month of April were Elle Kennedy. Yeah, I'm making like, am I saying the right Elle? Yes. Elle Kennedy's hockey books. We've got the Off-Campus series, The Chase, The Risk, The Play, The Dare, and then The Graham Effect, which is the first book of her Campus Diaries series. And I had a really hard time choosing a favorite, and I ended up picking The Graham Effect, and I don't even know why. I liked them all. They were all really good. I think I'd like the characters the best in The Graham Effect. I think they made me
That's like
laugh.
the next generation, right?
Yeah, I think they made me laugh a little bit more. I found them funnier a little bit, maybe, but they're all really good. Just read them.
Yeah,
I have the first 2 books in that series. I've had them for like a year.
I liked it a lot.
I really enjoy those too.
They're sexy. They're smart. They'll tug on your heartstrings. There's an HEA. What's not to like?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
What about the month of May?
I have a tie, and Mindy's going to be like, 2 stars. My tie is between The Idea of You
# not my 5-star
by Robin Lee and The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. Both of those made me feel a lot, right? And I think that's why I loved them so much. I also gave 5 stars to The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and and that's it. That's it for that month. And that's it. I was about to go into June, but The Idea of You and The Pairing both I think that's what put me into my reading slump. Both of those
because they were so good.
They were so good, and it took me probably 2 weeks to find something that was palatable after that.
Yeah,
which is a long time for me. I normally would have read like 4 books in that time.
I was going to say, when you read as much as we do, 2 weeks is a really long time.
For sure. For me, May was The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulet. It's more of I guess it was kind of not a YA, maybe a new adult book, but it had a lot of intrigue and interest. Again, something very different from what I normally read, but I really enjoyed it. And then my favorite that month was Just Some Stupid Love Story by Caitlin Doyle. It was another arc that I read, and that kind of began my you'll see my roller coaster of just one rom-com after another. That's where I'm at right now in my headspace, and I think that might be why I'm having trouble with Manacled.
Yeah, it's a very
I might have to
story.
stop, read something else, and then go back to it.
Yeah, too. It's hard, I think, to go from a rom-com to a story like Man. They're just completely different. Yeah. So, But yeah, I read a crap ton of books in May, and a lot of them were 4-star reviews. I didn't have a ton of 5-star reviews, but I was looking at my Goodreads and thinking, I think I subconsciously was like, read, because I knew that summer break was coming and that I was only going to read like 4 books in the month of June, which is what ended up happening. But I did give 5 stars to The Dangerous Ones by Lauren Blackwood, The Dixon Rule, which is the sequel to The Graham Effect by L. Kennedy. And then I'm like, am I saying the right thing? And then Priest and Sinner, which are the first 2 books in that trilogy by Sierra Simone. And I think I picked Priest as my favorite.
Did you? So you didn't give the third book in that series 4 stars?
I gave it 4 stars.
Oh, it was my favorite one.
I think it just bummed me out too much.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a bummer.
That's why I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars. But Priest, I was messaging with a friend that's a friend. And she was like, I'm finally going to start reading Priest. I'm with my kids at the pool. And I was like, you need to watch out because
watch your facial expressions.
I said, you are going to be squirming in your seat and ready to get railed. And I'm like, I'm 100% serious. And she was like, oh my. And like an hour later, she was like, you were right. And she said, I said, I told you, ready to get railed, right? And she said, we need to get through bedtime hastily.
Here's what I love, though. We have a bunch of listeners in our Instagram channel right now that are reading it.
I know. I saw that.
And I love it.
Good.
It's so good. I can't even explain why. I mean, it's just so good.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's just read it. Read it. And if you know, you know.
What did you read in June then? Whitney?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I only read 5 books in the whole month of June, and 3 of them were 5-star reads.
Wow.
I gave 5 stars to Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver, which was the sequel to Butcher and Blackbird. I gave 5 stars to Manacled and 5 stars to Not in My Book, which was Katie Holt. I think it's Katie Holt. I forgot
we'll put
to
it
type.
in the show notes.
I know I forgot to type her name down, but I'm pretty sure it's Katie Holt. Not in My Book, I picked as my favorite for that month just because it was really different. It was that meta book I talked about a couple weeks ago about the writers that were being forced together, like enemy writers that have to write a romance together. And it was just really fun to read a book about writing a book.
Yeah.
As a reader who knows all these tropes and stuff, it was just really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It was different than other things that I've read. And I think I liked that it was new characters, even though I love a sequel, I love a series, but it was just characters I didn't know, but that I fell in love with. And I would like to read more books about them, but I think it's a standalone.
I find that it's hard to wrap everything up in a standalone anymore. I mean, it's got to be so difficult as an author to write a true ending, right? So I feel like everything's turning into somewhat of a series, even if it's different characters. So that
that's true. Like a shared universe
can
or
continue
something.
to wrap up loose ends.
I think they fall in love with these side characters, and they see readers falling in love with these side characters.
I was about to say, the readers are demanding as fuck.
Yeah,
and they're like,
true.
we need a book about this. That was why Scarlett St. Clair wrote the Hades perspectives for what's that book, Touch of Darkness, is because the fans wanted it, and she used it as an exercise, and then they ended up being crazy successful.
They were so good.
Awesome.
They're so good.
Mindy, what were your June 5 stars?
I also had 3 5-star reads in June, and like Deb, I couldn't pick just one for this one, so I read The Words by Ashley Jade. That was actually a pretty long book too, but very, very good, well written. And then I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez and The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, which I loved both of those. I couldn't pick between the 2 of them and I read one after the other too. And they're similar as far as like their vibe, but I just really loved them. I loved the characters. I loved how they ended up, how they made me feel. It was good times.
Made me feel all good inside.
They did.
Give you the tingles.
They did.
Well, I did June and then a little bit into July too, since we're in
Cheater.
July. I know. So overall, my favorite in June was Beneath These Cursed Stars by Lexi Ryan. It comes out at the end of this month. And if you read These Hollow Vows, you're going to love it. It's set in the same world. It's her sister. And I really fell in love with those books last year. I also gave 5 stars to, and I said this earlier, Bound to the Shadow Prince by Ruby Dixon and The Wedding People. And I cannot remember the author's name. I'm so very sorry, but it will be in the show notes. It just, June and July have just been really good reading months for me.
Yeah.
You needed that though.
I did. I really did. I needed to escape just a little bit.
Yeah. I feel that.
Well, Whitney, I'm dying to know which has been your favorite book overall for the year.
I had a really hard time thinking about what a favorite of all of these, because it did feel a little bit like, well, I loved all of them. I don't know.
It's like picking your favorite kid.
It kind of did feel like that. But ultimately, I decided to go with Fangirl Down because it is a feel-good book. It's got really good spice, characters that I really enjoyed. Of course, it's a happily ever after. It has to be if I'm going to give it 5 stars, really. And it was just really fun to read. And I have already read it like 4 times this year and have enjoyed
Really?
it. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it every single time. And that is the book that really got me down the Tessa Bailey rabbit hole, and I've really enjoyed all of her books. They've just been talking about escaping. They've been a very fun escape with just lighthearted, easy. Everybody's happy. Everybody falls in love, and nobody has to worry about voting. None of that stupid crap. How expensive groceries are. Like, no, just fall in love. Get a guy to go down on you in a golf cart. Like, okay. Yes, please.
Isn't it like, doesn't he also go down on her on a gazebo in a storm?
That's the same place. Yeah. The same.
Yeah.
I did mention that to Robbie.
I liked that.
I mentioned that to Robbie while we were on the golf course, and he was like, you can't bring stuff up like that right now.
You're making other stuff come up right now.
But yeah.
Poor Robbie.
Wah, wah. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Mindy.
Well, I couldn't just pick one. I know I always break the rules.
Cheater.
But I will say these 2 books are very, very different from each other. And what put them over the top for me is the both of them were very different from what I was expecting when I picked them up. So the first was
Manacled. Sorry. Sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and say, spoiler alert, Manacled has been my favorite read so far. So let's just get that over with. Manacled was my favorite.
I saw the opportunity and I was like, I'm going for it.
Hashtag my favorite read so far.
Sorry, Mindy, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. And I'm really glad, honestly, because I love that you loved that book that much.
Yeah.
Because it really is a cool premise, and it's really neat what she did
Good for
with it.
you.
Yeah, she's like, I love that for you.
No, but I'm just saying.
I had to tell you. Go ahead, and then I got to tell you.
Well,
something.
I guess maybe it's just because I feel like I'm broken, but I don't want you to think that I'm like, I think that's stupid that you like. I don't think it's dumb at all that anybody likes this book. I definitely see why somebody does. I think it's just not for me.
I have to tell you the story though. Whenever I was in Vegas last month with my husband for work, I'd sent Whitney pictures and walked into, I forget which casino it's in, but they have that Vanderpump restaurant, right? Yeah. And I went in just for Whitney, and we were going to get a little bite to eat and a cocktail, but the littlest bite to eat was $40.
Yeah.
So we just got cocktails. And so I just wanted to go in and see what it looked like. And it really was quite beautiful.
Yeah.
The aesthetic was really awesome. So I walk in and they're like, oh, are you going to eat? And I was like, oh, I think we just want to get a cocktail if we just want to get a little table by the bar. So we go and sit down, and this girl comes over, and everyone that works there has to be outrageously good looking, right?
Because they might be on the show.
Right. So she walks over, and she's like, so are you going to get some food or what's going on? And I'm like, I think we're just going to get a cocktail. And she's like, I love that for you. And just walked off. She was such a bitch. But I was like,
I love that for you.
I love that for you. She's like, you're wasting my fucking time. I'm like, it's 3:00 on a Tuesday. Chill the fuck out.
It's fine.
You're lucky you're getting anything right now.
I know, right?
Sorry, that just reminded me of that. I love
funny.
that for you.
I love that for you.
Well,
Sorry, Mindy.
Now that we've kept our listeners on the edge of their seats, I know you all are dying to know.
You're like, come on, get back to Mindy.
They fast forwarded through all our bullshit.
So my favorite was the first book I read this year, which was Butcher and Blackbird, and then one that I've read more recently, which was Just for the Summer. Those were my 2 favorites. And again, 2 very different books, but neither one of them were what I expected when I picked them up. And they both surprised me in very good ways.
I haven't read the Just for the Summer, but that's a very apt description for Butcher and Blackbird.
Yeah.
Very subverted expectations.
Yes.
For a rom-com.
That was a
question mark.
I read it right when it came out. So last year it was in my top 5 favorite books, but I read it in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
I loved it so
I did
much.
too.
It was Halloween, and people were trying to trick or treat, and I'm like, get whatever you want. Trying to read a book. God.
That was my trip that I got to take a bunch of books, and Darren was working, and I got to stay in the hotel room and read. Yeah. So yes, that was fun.
Shout out to Carrie in book club. She has a little lake house in Texas, and we all go down there every summer, and it's like a 12-hour drive. And so they're driving down, and they both put in AirPods because she wants him to listen to it. And so the whole time I was like, let me know what he thinks about the pleated folds. Tell me what he thinks about the pleated folds. And so the whole time we were down there, he just kept bringing up like pleated folds jokes. He's like, it was really great until that. And I'm like, I know. She uses that phrase in Leather and Lark too. She does. I was like, don't do it.
Yeah. And so, Deb, your overall favorite was Manacled.
It was.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our favorite characters, because my favorite character that I've read this year is not in my favorite book.
Me too.
So I'm curious. Did you pick a character from one of your favorite books, Mindy?
Yes, but my favorite couple is not from one of my favorite.
Well, Whitney and I didn't do favorite couple nerd.
Do your favorite couple first.
So my favorite couple, it's from one of my 5-star reads, and but not my overall favorite. It's Tristan and Rix from If You Hate Me. They're just hilarious, and there's, I mean, all I gotta say is vegetable play. So, and if you know, you know.
That does is bring up questions.
She's talking about star fruit, guys.
Can you imagine?
Ouch. No. Cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
I mean, yeah, I got it.
Well, this is the guy that sent her, after they played with a vegetable, sent her a bouquet of vegetables.
Was the bouquet of used vegetables?
No. It was like,
ew, what is wrong with you?
No.
What's wrong with me?
That's not sexy. That's not cute and sexy.
Did he come all over them and then send them to her?
And then send them to her. I marked these just for you, baby.
That's not romantic. That's not romantic.
Oh, man. Well,
but somehow a basket full of phallic vegetables is romantic. As long as they're not used.
To be used.
Now, granted, I'm not single, but if I was single and I dated a guy and he sent me that, I'd marry him in a heartbeat. That is so funny.
Maybe your birthday's coming up.
Shit, I better not get phallic vegetables.
Fingers crossed.
What were your male and female then, Mindy?
So my female favorite was from Paradise Problem. It was Anna. I think she's just hilarious. She gets high and says funny things, and she is who she is, and with no apologies, and I loved that. Yeah. And then my favorite male character was Justin from Just for the Summer, because he is the sweetest golden retriever, perfect book boyfriend ever.
Nice.
I love them.
Oh. So those are your two favorite overall favorite characters?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Deb, who was your favorite character?
So just like you, it's not someone from one of my 5-star reads. It's Lark from Leather and Lark.
Nice.
So Leather and Lark is really an awesome book. It just, nothing's going to beat Butcher and Blackbird. It just can't. But Lark is this hilarious serial killer, or as she calls herself, a multiple deleter, which I think is so funny. And she likes to craft and use glitter. Yeah. I think that's really great. I would hang out with her. I think that's why I like her so much. She's hilarious.
She is very crafty.
And I don't want to give anything spoilerly away, but she's also very sex forward. And
yes.
I really enjoy that about her.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah.
That is true. Well, my favorite overall character is from a 5-star read, but not my overall favorite book, which was Fangirl Down. My favorite character will come as no surprise to people who are listening to our read-along episodes.
Bells?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not from Fangirl Down. It's from House of Flame and Shadow. Lydia Servos.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She is my overall favorite character. And I will not get too much into it because I talk about it, I feel like, every read-along episode, why I love Lydia so much.
Go listen to the read-along episodes.
Yeah, listen to our read-along episodes. She's a super strong character. She's very misunderstood, and once people find out who she actually is, and I don't mean like identity, I mean her personality and the things that are important to her and her motivations for her actions, she is the ultimate hero of House of Flame and Shadow, in my opinion. And I think she's great.
I would agree with that too.
I love her
she's
so
wonderful.
much. She's misunderstood, and she deserves.
She's the Nesta of Crescent City.
all the love in the world.
Although she isn't hated on as much as Nesta is.
She really isn't.
Right.
Which.
Yeah.
They
do a lot of the same shit.
We need a bonus episode for the mistreatment of Nesta, but yeah, she's my favorite. Is there anything else you guys?
For the record, all of season 1 was your bonus episode of your mistreatment.
That's true.
That's true. Go back and listen.
We can discuss anything else about that.
Maybe when another ACOTAR book comes out, I'll be like, and then.
So in 2027, we'll do that episode.
Yeah, whenever that comes out. Yeah. Is there anything else about your all's favorite books you wanted to bring up, or are we ready to talk about our nerdiest things of the week?
I'm really excited to talk about my nerdiest thing of the week.
Tell us everything, Mindy.
So, and I texted both of you all this when it happened. I'm just so excited. It might be like one of the nerdiest things that's ever happened to me that like actually was beneficial for me. So
Cucumbers?
Besides cucumbers. So I do a weekly trivia, and we're like hardcore, right? So there's this one team that we never beat, and this week we actually beat them. And part of the reason was because I killed this question. So the category, it was a theme round, and it was who played that person. Come up with the actor's name. And the question was who played Woody Goodman, mayor of Neptune, California, blah, blah, blah. And it took me a second. I was like, okay, I know this. And I could picture him, and I could like I could see him in the episode. This is from Veronica Mars, people. So this is my show, right? I'm like telling everybody, it's like, I got this. I like missed the next two questions because I was thinking about this so hard. But it's Steve Guttenberg for everybody who wants to know. And I got it right. And we got every single question in that round right.
Yay.
And we beat Gutterballs. I'm like,
yay.
Come on.
Grow some balls, gutter balls.
Yeah, for real.
So you said something in the text exchange about him being good looking or something?
Oh, he was like a hottie in the 80s.
In that time
Yeah,
period.
oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like looking pictures because I was like,
he was a heartthrob in the 80s, maybe early 90s.
Yeah, when you said that about him being good looking, I was like, are we thinking of the same guy?
Well, maybe not.
He's very 80s cute.
Yes. Like in that time period, he was
got the
very
whole
much
Robin
a heartthrob.
I feel like he was
Tom
the
Hanks
Paul
thing
Rudd
going
of
on.
that era.
Oh,
I would
could see
agree with
that.
that.
Like he had those kinds of roles. He was very rom-commy. He was cute. He was funny.
Yeah. I would agree with that for sure. Yeah, I don't think he was a heartthrob anymore when he was Woody Goodman. But
Oh, no.
There is a
not.
picture of him in full denim, tight jeans, and his shirt is unbuttoned all the way down to his belly button, but is tucked in.
Oh man,
It's very much like the one who is resting on the bear rug in
Burt
front of the fire.
Reynolds.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
much
and
like
he's
that.
got like his sleeves are rolled. It's a short sleeve button down shirt,
and
but
he
they're
has
rolled
cowboy
up.
boots on. It's pretty great.
that was in at the time. Okay,
You can definitely see his junk.
He's trying to give that like vulnerable look too. Like I'm just so
No, I felt like he was looking at you like yeah, I'll fuck you, but I'm not talking to you afterwards.
can I keep my shirt tucked
I'm
in?
not here to talk, baby.
Well, Mindy, I'm proud of you for knowing
I
that
was
answer.
super proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm
Good
still
job.
on a
It's
high.
exciting.
Eating
from
the
that.
gutter balls.
I know.
You did it.
Suck it, Gutterballs.
Yay.
Suck it.
I hope they don't listen to this podcast.
Shout out to the gutter balls.
If they do, thank you so much for listening.
Please continue to do
And
so.
you're super smart. Just don't be.
Yeah, she just
that
doesn't
smart.
like you because she's jealous.
Deb, what was your nerdiest thing?
Okay, so it's me telling my daughter's friend all about the people who've been murdered on the Galapagos Island.
That's random.
She told me she was going there on a school trip.
Be careful.
So, if you listen to the Coincidence Island episode of My Favorite Murder, the episode's all about Frederick Nietzsche claiming the island, as well as some rich folks who wanted to build a resort there, and like murder just ensues. Everybody fucking dies, and they have no idea who started the killing first. It's a really compelling episode, but I was like, have you heard of Frederick Nietzsche? And she's like, the name sounds familiar. And I'm like, he died. So did everyone else. I'm like, why the fuck am I telling her this?
Put some pepper spray in your checked luggage.
Thanks for putting up with me, 17-year-old who'd never been to our house before.
And she'll never come
And
back.
will never come back.
Sorry.
And now she's seriously rethinking her trip to the Galapagos Islands.
She leaves on Friday, but he died like 100 years ago?
It was a long time
or something?
ago. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
His ghost is
There's
still there,
much
though.
better security now. She'll be fine.
Well, Whitney, what is yours?
Well, mine is a brief moment from my weekend with Robbie. So we checked into the hotel, and apparently he definitely did all the planning and he made the reservations, because I was like, I don't have the mental capacity to plan this. So if you want to do a weekend away, that's great. But like, you're in charge of everything. So apparently somehow when he made the reservations on his phone and his app, it was under my name for some reason. Okay. So there was a little bit of confusion with the person we were checking in, because she was like, you don't look like a Whitney. And I was like, oh, that's me. And so then she just...
Also, don't be so fucking rude.
It was kind of weird.
Is Whitney your wife's name? That's all you have to say.
Well, I mean, I was standing right there. And so then I was like, oh, that's me. And she was like, oh, okay, well, it's all in your name. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then she just like talked to me the whole time and was like, well, you know, confirming all this stuff and asking me all these questions. And, you know, this is when you're checking out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And so when we got up to the hotel room, Robbie goes, she just like talked to you the whole time. And it was like, I wasn't even there. Is that what it's like to be a woman?
Oh,
and I said, yes, it is. So we had a tiny little feminist moment.
I love that.
I was like, that is exactly what it's like.
Right before you said that, I almost looked at you and said, oh my God, he felt like a woman.
He literally did. And he was like, that kind of sucked.
I love that he realized that.
Mm-hmm, me too. Know? Yeah, I love that too. So it was just, you know, little feminist moment for
way to go,
old,
Robbie.
Yeah, old Roberto there. So, but that was my nerdiest thing of the week. So that is it for our episode today. This is our season finale for the Our Nerdiest Thing episodes. Please listen on Thursday for our season finale of our read along episodes for this season 4, and stay tuned for announcements about our upcoming season 5.
Well, we already did announce it on the last episode, just very, very quickly. But season 5 will start on August 20th.
Until then, listeners,
go to Instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. Come hang out with us.
Get caught up.
Bye.
Bye. Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at Instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. Or Facebook at Facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at OurNerdiestThing@gmail.com.